Rental cars gone wrong. My name is Christina, and this is what happened to my mom in January of 2026 at Chicago Midway Airport. This is part of a larger pattern we've been documenting involving rental car companies, unexplained technical issues, and repeated mistreatment. National Car Rental at the Chicago Midway Airport. My mom rented a vehicle from National from January 15th through January 31st, 2026. On the very first day, January 15th, when we got off the elevator and met with an employee, she offered two vehicles. The one we chose in a blue car. The mention of a blue car felt deliberate as we have been documenting incidents of being asked if our dog was a boy or a girl, and repeated incidents of being video recorded as we are out with him by passerbys in cars. We knew this coincided with my mom's brother Raymond and his wife Nancy expecting a baby. Next, in the car rental, my mom found a piece of paper that said quality service by Chris tucked into the visor. This included other information about the car. Because of the ongoing pattern we've been documenting regarding the name Chris, we are now documenting this in this video. Sometime after we left the lot, my mom noticed that the OnStar suddenly activated, even though it was not active when we left the lot, and she never turned it on. My mom called OnStar on January 15th, 2026, directly and spoke with a representative named David. He reviewed the situation and advised her to reach out to the rental company, stating that the activation would have occurred on their end. She immediately reached out in writing that same day, asking National why the system activated on its own. She followed up again on January 17th, the 21st, the 22nd, the 23rd, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and the 31st, and still received no written explanation. By February 2nd, she had sent 11 written requests asking the same basic questions. Did National or Enterprise activate OnStar? Does the vehicle automatically activate telematics? Was any remote monitoring or tracking used? Why the system showed as active later in the day? Why no one disabled it after she reported it? On February 4th, 2026, Enterprise Mobility finally responded to my mom's 11 follow-ups about the OnStar activation in her rental car. Their risk manager, Philip Scorapad, stated in writing that Enterprise was not aware of OnStar being activated, and that OnStar supposedly had no record of any activation requests for that vehicle. How can that be when I recorded the OnStar system fully active during the rental? I'm going to show you that video now. This directly contradicts the statement in his email that neither Enterprise nor OnStar is aware of any activation. Returning the National rental. When my mom returned our National rental car that morning, she asked about the unauthorized OnStar activation that happened during our rental. No one at National could explain it. One employee with Dollar Car Rental said she did not know. An employee with National stated National did not activate OnStar. Another National employee gave an excuse that didn't make sense, claiming the previous renter probably forgot to disconnect it. But OnStar wasn't active when we left the lot. This was just another example of the inconsistent explanations we keep getting. And despite sending multiple emails before and after returning the vehicle, my mom still hasn't received a single meaningful response. All of the emails and documents are posted on my Linktree, trying to pick up my mom's prepaid Dollar rental. After returning the National car on January 31st, 2026, we went to Dollar to pick up the prepaid rental my mom had already paid $902.81 through Priceline. It was supposed to be a 28-day rental, but the moment we got to the counter, things were off. What happened? The employee asked for my mom's license, handed it back, and then told her to have a seat with no explanation. My mom immediately knew something wasn't right. She's rented plenty of cars, and this is not normal procedure. When my mom stepped away, I saw the employee and the manager D dancing behind the counter. My mom walked back up and asked, "Am I supposed to return at noon? Are you going to call me?" The employee said the vehicle wasn't ready. The employee then tried to upsell my mom on a bigger car. The employee also said the manager was in the back looking for a car for us when he was standing right next to us the entire time. When my mom asked for the car she prepaid for, the manager refused to help her. She would have to pay the difference in price if she went with an upgraded car, which she did not ask for. He claimed the previous renter hadn't returned the car yet and shrugged when my mom asked if she was supposed to wait until 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. My mom reminded him she paid for a noon pickup and she expected the car at noon. He told her he wasn't going to talk to her anymore and denied her service. When my mom said she would call the police, he accused her of making a commotion and told her to leave the counter. My mom also asked them how much they were paid to deny her service. D claimed he would issue a refund but never did. Then he told her to get the refund from Priceline, even though this was a prepaid, non-refundable reservation that dollar was required to honor.
Okay, so you're the manager and you said your name is D. I have a rental car for a pickup at noon. I already paid for it. Can you please let me know?
Miss, I don't consent to being recorded. If you say you want to call the police, I cannot stop you.
Okay, so you told me you're
also said,
refunding
"Have a
me.
great day."
Why are you refunding me for a car that I reserved? That you're telling me you have no idea when it will be ready.
I do not give you consent to have me on your camera.
My mom called the police, and this incident now needs to be formally investigated, including obtaining the 911 phone call made on January 31st, 2026 at 11:47 a.m., which lasted 1 minute, and the body camera footage Officer Luna claimed to have recorded. Officer Luna arrived within seconds, walking in almost immediately after my mom hung up the phone. A few minutes later, a second officer entered the building. We've been documenting repeated patterns involving specific numbers and names. One detail that stood out immediately was the officer's name, Luna, which is also the name of the dog owned by my mom's brother, Eric. Because we've repeatedly seen family names and personal connections appear in these incidents, this added to the pattern we've been tracking. We have also documented multiple issues involving officers from the 8th District, the Bureau of Internal Affairs, and COPA, raising serious concerns about misconduct and lack of accountability. We've also seen this same pattern show up in our interactions with Enterprise Mobility. 3 different supervisors, Morgan Tamino, Facilities and Administrative Supervisor, Kenneth Simpson, Station Manager, and Philip Scorapad, Risk Manager for Chicago Airports. All 3 contacted my mom, yet none of them provided a meaningful or straightforward response. Morgan said she forwarded the issue to corporate and then disappeared. Kenneth stopped responding entirely once the questions involved national/enterprise, and Philip issued a denial that contradicts the real-time video evidence. My mom also believes the names Kenneth and Philip were used on purpose because years ago she worked at a law firm where the 2 attorneys she worked with were also named Kenneth and Philip. These repeated name correlations combined with the coordinated non-responses reinforce the broader pattern we've been tracking. It shouldn't take 3 different supervisors to avoid giving a clear answer, which makes the behavior feel even more intentional. Back to the incident. We explained everything to the officers. The prepaid reservation, the denial of service, and the ongoing harassment we've been documenting. One officer told told us to take photos of the employees. Officer Luna simply said, just go get another rental. When we tried to take a photo of the female employee, she blocked her face and then started taking pictures of me instead. She refused to give her name. The manager identified himself as D. The police labeled the situation as a civil matter and refused to write a report. My mom is reporting this as consumer fraud. And at this point, the entire situation needs to be reviewed by federal authorities along with the rest of the documented incidents. Forced to rent another car. Because Dollar refused to give my mom the car she paid for, we had no choice but to go to the Alamo counter, which is also at the Chicago Midway Airport. What my mom ended up with: a rental for only 8 days instead of 28, a smaller vehicle, a cost of $539.97, a $400 deposit, and we still need another rental for the rest of the month. All because Dollar refused to honor a prepaid reservation. Financial impact: my mom paid more money for less time, a smaller car, and extra deposits, all while still being out the original $902.81 that Dollar never refunded. My mom called her credit card company, Barclay, twice that day at 2:59 p.m. and 3:22 p.m. to document what happened. They said disputing the charge could take up to 3 billing cycles, which is unreasonable. So she's pursuing the refund through the Better Business Bureau. I will give updates on those responses. So we are sharing this publicly for transparency and accountability. The Dollar car rental denied her prepaid reservation on January 31st, 2026 at the same airport with the same pattern of dismissive behavior, inconsistent explanations, and refusal to provide documentation. It wasn't an isolated event. It was part of a larger pattern of issues we have been experiencing specifically at Chicago Midway Airport. We have been documenting everything because transparency is the only way to protect ourselves when companies refuse to answer basic safety questions. And before anyone thinks what happened at National and Dollar were isolated events, I want to explain something else that happened to my mom, this time at Budget Rent-A-Car in Oak Lawn, Illinois. My mom rented vehicles from the Budget location at 8940 South Cicero Avenue multiple times, and the same employee who appeared to be the manager repeatedly behaved in ways that were unprofessional, inappropriate, and honestly disturbing. November 2024 rental. When my mom rented a car in November 2024, the employee suddenly started asking personal questions about where she was traveling. He had never done that before. Then he launched into a strange, overly detailed story about Michigan, mentioning a cabin, a cemetery, and no internet service. He even mentioned how his sister-in-law travels every month to the Silver Beach Pizza place in Michigan to get a pizza. The detail of every month is odd, as we documented that someone has been going into the Michigan home with keys and damaging property. The conversation felt rehearsed and deliberate. He also took out his phone from the back room, held it up deliberately, then the Android notification sound went off repeatedly. This is a pattern my mom and I have been documenting in other harassment incidents. The car he gave her had OnStar fully activated the entire time, even though she never turned it on. She took a photo of the active OnStar system on November 29th, 2024 at 11:58 a.m. When she returned the car and asked why it was active, he gave an explanation that made no sense, claiming the membership was still on. The timing and the content were extremely concerning, especially because that same employee had just told my mom an odd story about a cabin he claimed belonged to his sister-in-law, a place where the whole family supposedly took turns visiting as long as they notified each other. He said the cabin was next to a cemetery and that his kids hated going up there because him and his wife scared them at the cemetery. When my mom asked follow-up questions, he changed his story and said the cemetery was actually a drive away, not next door as he originally claimed. When we returned home from returning the rental car, my mom's dad told her that his home security monitor was acting up and how strange it was that he saw a cemetery on his monitor. He thought someone tapped into his monitor. During our Michigan trip in November, where OnStar was activated the entire time, her workplace was tracking our movements through through emails. When we left the house, when we came back, even when we went to the store. Divine intervention is what made my mom search the rental car for a tracker. And that's when she discovered the OnStar system was activated. I also want to note another correlation with my mom's former workplace. An email dated December 6, 2024 was sent at 12:03 p.m. after my mom returned from Michigan, the same trip where she discovered the OnStar system had been activated. In that email, the team discussed a defendant with the word star in the name, and Coulter, one of the partners of the firm, referred to that defendant as 003. The staged conversation prompted my mom to look into the matter, and that is when she checked the files and confirmed the defendant is actually listed as 001. We are targeted with the numbers 3 and 1. The timing of the email, the star reference, and the incorrect 003 label all aligned with the same pattern we've been documenting. January 29th, 2025 rental. When my mom rented again on January 29th, 2025 from Budget, the same employee gave her a vehicle where the license plate on the car did not match the plate on the receipt. The receipt said OHJSV 6662, but the actual car plate was JTM 6612. He again left the counter, grabbed his phone, held it up while triggering the Android sound. This was intentional, this was targeted, and it matched the same harassment patterns we've documented across multiple businesses. Why this matters. My mom and I have been dealing with cyberstalking, hacking, and coordinated harassment that started at her former workplace. The behavior from this Budget employee, the phone sounds, the mention of a cemetery, the mimicked conversations, the mismatched license plate, the activated OnStar, all aligned with the same pattern. This wasn't normal customer service. This was employee misconduct, and it created serious safety concerns. My mom filed an official complaint with Budget in June 2025, documenting everything. Budget said they had no control over the OnStar activation and claimed their investigation was complete. They later said, however, the key tag reflects the prior tag assigned to the vehicle, so we do appreciate you bringing this to our attention. But this explanation did not make sense because the license plate, the key tag, and the receipt did not match. All 3 rental car locations need to be investigated, along with any other companies that may have allowed tracking without our knowledge or consent. My mom also explained to Budget that all of this started at her former workplace, where the IT department was used to launch the hacking and harassment. She already filed an EEOC complaint in April 2025 and even made a complaint to her cell phone provider, T-Mobile. The license plate on her rental car read JTM 6612, but it did not match the key tag or the receipt, and she believes it was given to her on purpose because it closely resembled the names of the 2 partners at the firm she worked at, named James, also known as Jim, who she believes are responsible for the hacking. Also, my mom rented the vehicle for the purpose of going to the Chicago FBI building to report a crime, and we were being blocked access to an FBI agent by Chicago police officers. So the JTM license plate feels symbolic and reveals a power play. On January 28th, 2025 at 4:42 p.m., my mom received a prank call from a Washburn, Illinois location. On January 29th, 2025, my mom and I drove to the Chicago FBI building and parked in the area by Officer Ramos. My mom noticed the street sign was Washburn. The prank phone call also shows that multiple people had knowledge of our plans to rent a vehicle and go to the FBI, information they could only have known through cyberstalking.